Hello there, and welcome to Quiet So. I am your host, Dada, and I always urge you to visit my website, dadaisms.com, that's DADAISMS, to connect to all my platforms and to find out more about what I do. Today's guest is Natasha Joy Price. Natasha is an energy shifter and healer, Reiki master, a fellow podcaster, and the author of the novel The Red Magus. I hope you will enjoy this interview, and without further ado, let's get to it. Natasha Joy Price, thank you so much for being here with me today on Quite So. I am honored to have you. And I want to start right off the bat with the first question. You are an energy shifter. Can you please give us an idea of what that is exactly?
Okay, so not something that I planned to be. It was something that I noticed was happening. So I've studied energy healing for 20 odd years. Um, and with all the work that I've done, I started noticing I have a muggle job, what I call a muggle job, at 9 to 5. And I started noticing that people who worked alongside me were being shifted. So things started to come up for them. I had a few secretaries who left because it was quite a dramatic release for them, and I kept thinking, "Gosh, am I hard to work for? Is it me? What's going on here?" And I knew I wasn't, and I really worried about it initially because I thought, "Gosh, I'm what's going on?" But I think because I've done so much work with my energy, and I feel it's quite a strong energy, that people who are working alongside me, things that needed to come up for them to heal were coming up.
Yeah.
So they were having that release, if you like, because of the close work, working together every day. But now I don't worry about it. And when my clients come, sometimes I feel that they get a shift just talking to me before they even arrive. But if we meet in person, especially, it's all part and parcel of what I offer, I think. And it's just, I don't know how it's come about, but I think it's because of all the work I've done on myself that I shift their energy in some way.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting to watch. It's quite humbling, actually, to feel that you are affecting somebody energetically just by being in their presence.
What does it exactly mean to shift energy? Can you give us an example?
So to shift energy, well, when we're doing energy work, we're looking at cleaning and clearing our energy field. That's what we're doing. And so our energy field is full of, thoughts and beliefs and perspectives. And if you believe in past lives, all the life experiences for the current life and past lives, the possibilities for your future life, there's a huge amount of information in there. And we want to clear it of anything negative that is stopping us reaching our full potential. So when you shift energy, it brings up, it's like it brings up all those negative thoughts and emotions. And so somebody might be having a moment and thinking, why am I having these thoughts about something that happened years ago? Or why am I feeling so off balance? Or so it's almost like you shake up, one of those snow globes, and you shake it up, and then it needs time to just settle again afterwards. So when I'm talking about something shifting, they're bringing up negative stuff from somewhere in their energy field and having to deal with it. But sometimes it can be really out of context. So, and if somebody's not aware of what's going on, it actually can be quite confusing and not understanding, why is this coming up now? What do I do about it?
I mean, I know that definitely people need help to shift energy, but can people do some practices alone to shift their energies as well? And if yes, can you give us an example of how we could do it on our own if we need to?
Absolutely. I think the first thing with energy healing, and I underestimated this when I started doing energy, I didn't realize the importance of it at all, but that's setting your intention to do something. And when you set your intention, it's almost like turning the key and allowing energy flow.
Yeah.
So the first thing is actually to set your intention out loud or in your head. I want to clean and clear my energy field.
Yeah.
It's almost like a message to your subconscious. This is what I want to start doing this. So that's the first and foremost thing. And I often say to people, do it in the shower. You know, something you have to do. It doesn't need more time.
Yeah.
You know, do it in the shower. When you're doing that shower, just imagine the water flowing through your energy field, cleaning as much as you're cleaning your physical body. Imagine it cleaning your energy bubble. Imagine, you know, like the water going down the plug hole, almost like with ink in it, you know, that dark swirl. Just imagine that and really get into that. So that's a couple of things that they can do straight away, every day. And then journal. Be very conscious of what comes up. You know, is it an old emotion? Is it an old thought? Don't enter into the drama of it, but just note it. And if it keeps coming up, why does it keep coming up? And then you have to start digging. Maybe they might need some help when they do that. But that's a few things you can do. Also, watch your thoughts. You know, people have, you know, they might have thoughts and it sends them into a spiral of darker thoughts. So just what triggers that? Where does that come from? You know, is that past experience? Is it childhood? Is it something else completely?
Yeah.
Again, journal. That's really helpful because you start to see patterns.
Yeah.
And also watch your words.
Yeah.
You know, words have a vibration. Words and thoughts are energy. Swear words have scientifically been proven to have a very, very low vibration. So just watch what you're saying. Watch how you're treating people, because that's all interplay with your energy.
Yeah.
And just be aware. If everybody could be aware that you have an energy field and that actually affects your physical and your mental and your emotional, you know, it's almost like the missing piece of the puzzle that's our whole holistic health. Yeah. And I think a lot of people aren't even aware of that. So just an awareness, get to know your emotions, get to know your thoughts, you know, get to know how you move through life, how it affects others, and therefore is reflected back on you, because that's another thing you can look at. You can look at you being a mirror in your own universe. So if you are treating people badly or you're speaking down to people, absolutely it will come back to you, maybe in another sector of your life, maybe not work, but in your personal life or whatever you're doing, it will be reflected back to you. So I think more than anything, I want people to just be aware and just set that intention, really.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of funny because just this past week, I realized that even though I am so aware that words are spells, so to speak, I noticed that sometimes we say certain things that we're used to saying all our lives. We don't notice that we repeat them so many times. And one of the things is sometimes I'm just like, life is hard the first 100 years. I say that a lot, and I'm like, why am I saying that all the time? I just caught myself the other day, like, I never really thought it was something that would affect, maybe my life or my energy, because just something I'm used to saying. It's something that people say. There's an expression in my country, we say it in Arabic, and so it's something we say jokingly. But even jokingly, you should be careful what you say, and you should notice these things that are kind of like inbred in you since childhood.
Yeah, exactly. I've just started a yoga course, and I was by far the least supple when I got there. And so I noticed that I was saying self-deprecating. So I was saying, we were all looking at people's poses, and they came to look at mine, and I said, "Oh, you'll have a field day with me," jokingly. And afterwards I thought, no, stop doing that, because you're putting yourself down before they can put you down.
True.
But actually you don't need to put yourself down at all. We're all different. We all have different strengths. So what if I can't put my knee behind my neck? It doesn't really matter at this point in time. But so you, like you say, you just have to catch yourself and then say, no, let's not do that. Yeah.
So you've said on your website, this is something I took from your website, that when someone discovers energy work, there are several treatments and modalities that they can try to learn, and that you encourage people to follow their intuition as to the path they take. So can you give us an idea of these treatments, modalities you're talking about?
Yeah. So for me, the first thing I did was Reiki. And I really look at Reiki as being a foundation for anybody. It's an amazing modality, and it really opens up your energy field and makes you much more energy aware.
Yeah.
And in fact, it was an experience through Reiki that really triggered my absolute passion in energy healing and made me want to learn more. So I offer Reiki, I also offer theta healing, I offer compassion key sessions, I offer past life regression, but there is so much out there. And I'd encourage people to just go to a local energy healer, whatever they're offering, and just have a go, have a, try it, because that's how I started. And actually, often you have an experience that is a real affirmation. And it was for me. And I just suddenly thought, gosh, I was 37 at the time. And I just thought, what is this? And how have I got to this point in my life and never knew this existed? What is it? It sort of blew the walls down of my little life that we all put our lives in a box. But this really opened it up, and I thought, no, I need to learn more. And instead of frightening me, it just made me so curious. And I just thought, I have to work out what this is all about. And 20 years later, I'm still working it out.
Yeah. May I ask, not to talk about age, but just like around what age did you start on this energy healing journey?
What age did I start?
Yeah.
I was 37. So I had just had my third child.
Yeah.
I had incredibly swollen ankles. He was born on the hottest, he was a big baby for a start, and he was born on the hottest week of the year. And my ankles were just so painful. And somebody said to me, go and have a Reiki. Never heard the word, did not know anything about it. Yeah. Just not in my conscious awareness. And that's when I had this experience of, I don't think I relaxed. I was too busy listening to where she was in the room. But with my eyes closed, I had this experience of the room was full of spirit. And when I say spirit, I mean spirit. So almost like cartoon whizzing around the room. Yeah. But with faces, and one came so close to me that I sort of got out of the way, because it was like sort of, and like I said, it could have frightened me to death, but actually it didn't. I just thought, wow, what is this? What is going on? And so that triggered me. And from that point onwards, I learned Reiki to start with, because that's how it all started. And then it's gone on, not with a view to having a business, not with a view to offering anything, just pure fascination, basically. I just wanted to understand.
That's how it starts. You go down the rabbit hole, and then opportunities open up, and that's beautiful.
Exactly.
You've written Freedom of the Soul. It's a workbook that helps people, with energies, and give us an idea of what it contains.
Yeah, so Freedom of the Soul, actually, it is proactive workbook, and it encourages people to find their own rabbit hole, if you like, to go off on the tangent, find their own path, because we're all completely individual, but it contains all the things that helped me on that path. So all the things that I tried, and, ideas and concepts. So there's meditations, there's ideas to use crystals, there's ideas about sound, and all these things, and to journal. I found that is really, really important, not just to get your thoughts out of your head, but also that when you look back on it, you can sometimes see patterns or threads, and that's what sends you off on a tangent. And so it's really, I just wanted to introduce people to the concepts and the ideas that helped me, and let them sort of find their own path, if you like.
I read on your website that you initially started with the idea of this book when you saw your kids, peers, and friends going through difficult times, such
Yeah,
as, having eating disorders,
yeah.
self-harm, anxiety. So how was that experience with your kids or with their, I mean, was it alarming for you to see, to notice this? Were you afraid for your kids? Tell us a bit about that.
Yes. Oh, yes, it was terrifying. It was really sad. One of my daughters, um, I was attuned to Reiki when she was 11,
Yeah.
and was always very interested in it. And I remember one of her friends came to tea and it got mentioned, and there was a change in her. She was just fascinated. She was asking me, because my daughter was so embarrassed and like trying to climb under the table
Wow.
with
Okay.
mum embarrassing her. But her friend was just fascinated with it. And this particular friend was really having issues with self-harming and clearly wasn't happy. And I just thought, I just noticed that and it just triggered that thought.
Mhm.
And actually, when I spoke to my daughter, she had a group of friends who were all struggling. It was that age, it's that generation. I don't know why they struggle, but they all seem to be struggling with different things. But mental health issues. And my daughter had some anxiety, but the least of all of them. And I felt that that was probably down to the Reiki,
Mhm.
to be honest.
Yeah.
So yes, that was a real sort of trigger for me to think, how can I help them? How can I help this particular age group or people coming after them? How can I help them? Perhaps just see that there are other ways.
Yeah.
That's all you can do, isn't it? Point them in different directions and support them. And just see, they've got to find their own way,
Yeah.
you know. But yeah, that did really trigger sort of the conception of the book,
Yeah.
basically. Yeah.
So the purpose of energy work is to heal your soul and to help your soul grow and take flight. And ultimately, the goal is that you grow to an extent where you are able to overflow and to help your community.
Mm.
Sometimes when you hear such, ideas, I feel people get skeptical and they start thinking, what, are we all Mother Teresa? Can we all do that work? Are we all saints? So what do you say to that?
No, we're not. And all we can do is start from ourselves. So I have spent 20 years working on myself. And because of the work that I've done myself, is why I shift other people's energy. So you can, and even the books that I write, it's your ripple that goes out
Yeah,
into your community, into your county, into your country, and eventually the world. And if there's enough of us sending out ripples and the same ideas and concepts and about compassion and being kind to each other and etc., um, then that's powerful. That's really powerful.
yeah,
Um, my mother met a lady in the street the other day where I grew up, where I used to live, and she said, "Oh, you're Natasha's mum, aren't you?" And they got chatting, and she said to my mum, "Your daughter was the kindest solicitor I've ever met."
oh,
And I thought, what a compliment! What a
yeah,
compliment! First of all, that's a bit sad, really, but it was a compliment, and I thought, yeah, well, you know what? I've shifted her. I've really shifted her. And then the other day, I was walking to work through the park, as I do sometimes. Beautiful park, beautiful 500-year-old trees,
yeah,
absolutely stunning. And as I walked past, I just put my hand on the trunk of one of these trees. I love
yeah,
them. I think, they're beautiful. And this young man came up to me, and he must have been in his 30s. And he said, "Excuse me, I've just seen you touch the tree." And I went, "Oh, yeah." I said, "I like the
yeah,
trees. I love the vibing." And he was very emotional when he was
yeah,
talking to me and
yeah,
said, "That's so beautiful to see you treating the trees like that." And I was a bit taken aback. It was a bit of a strange reaction for this young man to rush up to me in the park. But I actually thought, that isn't that lovely as well? Because just that very simple action has moved him almost to tears. And obviously, maybe there was something else going on in the background. I don't know. But it really, things like that, you can really shift people around you without even realizing it sometimes. But those 2 times I got feedback, which was lovely. So, and maybe we do, so many people out there who are running charities or doing good work, which are not reported. There's so much kindness and compassion out there. We might not all reach the level of Mother Teresa, but we start from ourselves, and we start from our neighbours, and we start from our communities, and I think eventually that ripples out. So I think we can have an effect. Absolutely.
So simply by existing with a healed soul, with an enlarged soul, a loving presence, you affect your surroundings automatically.
Yeah. And I always feel like I do a lot of writing. I've written books. I do regular articles for an online magazine, and I just think they are also ripples. If somebody reads an article and just makes them think about things in a different way, or makes them think, what, I'm going to go and try that, or you are affecting people in a positive way.
You give Reiki lessons, and you even give certifications, and you have different levels up till the master Reiki.
Yes, master teacher,
Yes. So how long does it take to reach a master level if you're starting from zero? How much is the total cost? Give us an idea about that before we talk a bit about what Reiki really is.
So there's a level 1, a level 2, and then master teacher level, which is a level 3. There are teachers out there that offer it all in a one weekend. I do not offer it all in one weekend. To me, it is a passage, and it's up to the individual how quickly they do it. But it's not about quickly, let's do the courses and then we can teach it. That's not what it's all about. It's about learning the principles, working on yourself. Level 1 is about learning those principles and working on yourself and family and friends you can practice on. And then when they feel ready, they can move to level 2. And I always, it's like, the snow globe, it being shaken up. It needs time to settle. It needs time to be integrated through your energy. So to me, you should have a few months between 1 and 2. And then level 2 is, I was always taught, level 1 was like 30% capacity. Level 2 is 60% capacity. And then master level is like 100% capacity. And that's how I always view it. Often, after, say, level 2, people can become quite poorly. And it's because they're clearing stuff. It takes a while for the energy to be integrated. So I think people have to be very conscious of their own energy as they're doing it, very conscious of when they feel ready to take on more, because it can be disruptive if you're unwell and all the rest of it. But I love it. I absolutely love Reiki. I love giving sessions, and the cost it depends very much on the teacher, to be honest. Some different varieties of Reiki out there, and some can be quite expensive, but it doesn't have to be. I think like sort of Reiki 1 is about £200. Reiki 2 would be, you're talking maybe £300, and then the master £400. It's that sort of build up. But
so about $1,000 for the whole thing.
Possibly, yeah.
Which is
probably
really,
around about
really
that
a very
time.
fair price. It's divided up in different, different months, so it's easily doable.
And I learned it in person. I know we do a lot of things on Zoom now. You can do the theory on Zoom, but for me, I like to be in person. You can then teach them exactly how you give a session, how you pass on that energy. I think that's much better for them. And I then offer a continuing service in that they can contact me if they've got queries, or they sort of get brought into the fold, if you like.
It becomes a community.
Yes, and I'm here if they can WhatsApp me, and I'm here. Love WhatsApp. I speak to my clients all the time on WhatsApp. If they've got a query or they need help with something, or maybe they're just not feeling well with it and it's not feeling right, or you've got that ongoing support. But Reiki, I mean, I think about 4 million people now practice Reiki across the world.
Wow.
There's angelic Reiki. I've got a lady coming onto my podcast about astral Reiki. There's so many variations. But the concept is always, the energy is coming from the same place. And it's a great place to start if anybody's interested in energy healing. It's a really great foundation.
You also do past life regressions.
Yes.
And you kind of mentioned on your website that you have, if you want, 3 results from past life regression. The first could be to release fears and emotions that are, bleeding into this current life. A second outcome could be that you help heal physical ailments through the emotional body. And the third is working on self-esteem, self-worth, and such issues.
Right, yeah.
So, give us an idea of how you got started, first of all, on past life regression, and how did you find that these 3 outcomes could come from past life regression?
Yeah. So I went to do hypnosis, actually. I was doing a hypnosis course. And at the end of the weekend, the instructor said, let's put everybody's names in a hat. And whoever's pulled out, I'll give them a past life regression session. Never done any past life. Always been fascinated, but never done it. I knew without a shadow of a doubt, when he said that my name would be picked out. So for some reason, we went through all this process and my name was picked out of the hat. So my first experience of past life regression was as a guinea pig being watched by this group of people. So that was a bit like, oh, okay. But I was just amazed because I'm quite visual and I could see everything. I could see this past life. I could see the imagery. I knew that my sister was with me, but in a different guise. I knew my cousin was with me, my current cousin, my current sister, but in a different guise. I could get exactly what happened. I could see how I passed over in that lifetime. And then also I met my guide. He took me past the death point and I went to a space and I met my guide. And my guide was not in a human form. My guide was like a massive sphere of like water droplets, but suspended in the air. And every time he talked to me, it shimmered. And afterwards, I was explaining it to a friend, and I said it looked like a dandelion head. So that's how come my business is called Dandelion Therapies, because that's where it came from. And of course, I was fascinated after that. I was just like, wow. And what is so amazing is when you have those experiences and you have those visuals and feelings, they become part of your memory bank. They don't fade. It's not like I can remember it as clearly as anything. It's almost like you have access to it again. It's always been there, but suddenly you get access to it. So I went off and I trained with the Regression Academy, which is like a diploma. And it was fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So what happens in past life regression? So within that first one, when I passed over, I carried with me the emotions and the thoughts that I was having at that point. So I died quite a nasty death. I was involved in an attack and then I got an infection.
Wow.
And I was very unhappy. And so I took those emotions with me.
Yeah.
And in this lifetime, those emotions and those thoughts can still be going through your head and can still be causing you to move through life in a very different way. And you might not be aware of why you have thoughts going around in your head, like, no one cares about me, I'm not worth anything, I'm terrified of being attacked, because you've not had an experience in this current life to explain it, but it makes perfect sense once you've seen that past life. So those elements can still be in your current field. So what we do with past life regression, we find out what you were thinking at that death point. We find out what the emotions are and we clear them. And they're cleared out of your energy field. And then what you find is when you come back into your current life, you actually move through life in a very different way. You make decisions in a very different way. And it might be really subtle, but you notice it and you can feel that. It's almost like a lightness. You feel lighter for it. So that's sort of the fears and emotions part of it. And the self-worth as well, because, with world history, if you couldn't pay the rent, you were thrown out on the street, or all the wars that we've had in the past, or, there's so much that went on. So it can be quite a grisly end to a lot of past lives and experiences. And the physical part of it, when I explain it, like our energy bubble is like exactly that, a bubble, and we're standing within it. But our energy field flows through our physical. They are completely and utterly linked. So, sometimes you can do physical detoxing, maybe have a smoothie every day and designed to detox you physically. And actually, during that period, you can feel really quite emotional, and you can feel, and that's because the two are interlinked. So you can also, if you're not clearing your energy field and you've got negative emotions and beliefs and things going on in your energy field, your energy can actually stagnate, and it can also spike and it can break. And eventually those emotions and negative feelings and whatever it is can manifest as physical symptoms. So you can come at it at both ways. So actually, if you go and clear something, it can help physical symptoms that you've got, if that makes sense.
Actually, I once read somewhere that there was this person who was having severe abdomen pains, didn't know why. And then after undergoing past life regression, it turned out that this person was shot at this point in his or her life. And then after that, they didn't feel the pain anymore. So, I mean, how is that possible? I mean, to feel the pain from like just a gunshot wound, or it's not something that was an ailment that's long, not something that's, like cancer, for example, where you have it for a long time. So do you have an explanation for that?
Well, it's actually scientific. It's been very well documented. Lots of people, are often born into this lifetime, maybe have birthmarks where they were previously killed, or, so it's an energetic imprint that you bring with you, basically. But I've had that experience recently. So I had a very sore hip. And it would wake me up at night. It'd be fine during the day, but it would wake me up at night. And I just couldn't get to grips with it. And I cleared. This is the other thing. You can have layers and layers in a particular area. And I thought my hips, because I've had 3 children, maybe they're weakest part of me physically. And that's why I dumped my negative energy there, whatever. So I cleared some layers, still came back. So I went to see an intuitive healer, and she talked about me being shocked when I was a child, in shock when I was a child. And I remember vividly my mother coming back from a funeral and being very, very upset. And she said enough to make me suddenly remember that. And she said, "You're holding that shock in your hips."
Wow.
So she was able to clear that. She then discovered ancestral energy there. So she said, "Who was the ancestor of yours that left their children?" And my great grandmother did just that. She disappeared and left 3 children.
Wow.
So we were able to clear that. And then she also saw that I'd been speared in my hip as well in a past life.
Yeah.
So it really was layered, and she was able to clear that. And as I drove away, I thought, how does my hip feel? And the only way I can describe it is it felt lighter. That's the only sort of word. Yeah. And I've not had any pain since. Nothing. Yeah. So it really is a thing, that you can dump your emotions somewhere in your body, usually the weakest point of your energy for whatever reason. And that it will eventually, it's almost like it's almost like you put it in a box somewhere in your body and it starts to seep out eventually. And you start to get aches and pains and symptoms. And so it can be really, really effective for that. Whichever way you come at it, whether you've got physical symptoms, you can go into a past life at that point, or sometimes a lot of stomach issues, and it's because you were starving in a past life. You never had enough food. You always constantly had stomach pains because of lack of food, and when you remove the emotions around that, they can clear up. Or you can come from the side of, well, I'm just going to keep my energy as clear as possible, and let's hope that nothing manifests.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing all that.
Yes. It is fascinating. And that's one thing that's just kept me going, because nobody is the same. Nobody is the same. And when you go into a session, it's just so interesting.
Yeah. I mean, as you're talking now, I was thinking, I've been suffering from reflux for a while, a few years now. Suddenly, these past 2 years, I'm having a swollen left foot. It just swells up, and then I put it up, and there's no swelling. I put it down, it swells. It's like just so funny. It's weird. And there's nothing wrong with it physically. It's just I don't know why it's swelling. So now I'm like thinking of all the possibilities, with
And I just think, what, it's worth having a go. When I talk about my hip pain, and some people might say, oh, it's just in your head. And I say, well, actually, I don't care whether it's in my head or not, because the pain's gone. When you're in pain every single day, or you've got something that's irritating you every single day, if you can clear that, I don't care if it's psychosomatic or whether we're, it's a moot point whether we have past lives or whether it's our subconscious giving us a scenario that helps us. For me, I personally believe it's past lives, but people don't have to believe that. But if you get rid of the pain and you get rid of the symptoms, then
there's something there. You also offer 5 Earth vibrational days.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about that. I didn't quite catch what it was all about. Tell us about it.
It is basically based around the concept of vibrational energy, and vibrational medicine. So there's a lot of things that fit under that umbrella. So essential oils and crystals, and I trained in Celtic Reiki, which is being attuned to the vibration of the trees and going back to the ancients, the Celts and their beliefs, etc. I don't teach that because you have to go through certain levels to teach it. But we do work around trees as well, because for me, trees are so important. I feel like trees are like the embodiment of compassion, which sounds a little strange, but I do. When you start looking at them scientifically, and they live in a community, and there's more to trees than we
It
the
is one of
weeds.
those strange, I have a small space at the front of our house. I sit there and we have gardenias there and like several other trees and, some pine trees. And I just feel like there's a grid, I really believe there's a
Yeah.
grid, between the trees. And I feel so at peace. And I know, I talk to the trees. I talk to them. I tell them, thank you for giving me
Yeah.
peace, for absorbing, some of my negativity,
Yes,
for,
I
and
absolutely believe that. And the Celts understood that.
yeah,
And I feel like we've forgotten a lot of it because they would use, you know, certain trees for certain physical issues, but also for certain emotional issues.
yeah,
And they gave a symbol to each tree. So they understood that there was a vibration that was different. And they also gave a symbol to a grove of trees because that was different as well, where they used to do their ceremonies. And so I really feel that there's a real connection there that we don't fully understand.
yeah,
And it's like crystals. I feel like they vibrate, and when we put them in our field that's vibrating, the two try and find a rhythm, which
yeah,
is called entrainment. So they really do affect us, but I feel like crystals are almost like we have a computer in our house but we haven't turned it on. We haven't grasped the full potential. So those days were sort of written around those concepts. So, like I say, I do crystals, I do, earth vibrational healing, which is the trees. I do ceremonies, all sorts. And I often do them one-to-one because actually, or just a very small group by Zoom, because actually that's really lovely. And I believe when you do a workshop or you do anything, the right people come, and what's so funny is that they might all have the same issue or in a different way, but it's almost like they're all drawn in and you create that space
yeah,
and you work within that container, if you like.
yeah.
So there's also one about ceremony as well. And so, yeah.
So in a way, it's about keeping all traditions alive
Yes.
and bring them back to the masses, so to speak.
And to help us remember,
Yeah,
I think the ancient tribes knew all this stuff. They all got it, all the concepts they got. And we've sort of distanced ourselves because of the concrete and living in houses and having roads. We're not walking among the trees, we're not living among the trees
yeah,
in the same way. And I think we've just forgotten. And I think it's just a remembering,
yeah.
definitely.
I was just on the other day with my mom, and she was saying that one of my cousins, when he was a kid, he constantly had, a running nose. At one point, after a zillion medications, the doctor suggested to the parents, just let him go play in the soil. And
Mm.
2 weeks later, he was done with it. He was just fine. He was
Yeah,
playing, in the soil among the trees for 2 weeks, and nothing was wrong with him anymore.
yeah.
It's just
Because you've got to let,
fascinating, isn't it?
yeah, and you've got to let kids come into contact with bugs and dirt and all the rest of it, because then their immune system
Yeah,
kicks into action and it becomes a lot stronger.
true.
So yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So you are not only this amazing healer, but also a podcaster, an author, a blogger. So let's go through a bit through these things. Your podcast, Balm to the Soul. How did
Yes.
that, come to life, and what do you discuss there?
So it came to life. I was thinking about that the other day, and somebody asked me, "Are you a psychic?"
Yeah,
And well, I don't actually call myself that. But maybe some things that I do would seem towards that for some people.
yeah,
But in this instance, I was having a shower and I very, very clearly heard a voice saying, "Start a podcast."
wow.
And, I'm 60 this year. IT was not my generational thing.
Yeah,
And I'm thinking, really? I'm not even sure how to start that.
Yeah.
So initially I asked a friend, do you want to do it together? And we started it together and we researched it. And actually the platform I use makes it so easy.
Yeah.
She stopped doing it after a while, but I thought, no, I'm going to carry on.
Yeah.
And again, it's that ripple, isn't it? It's getting that information. And gosh, the internet and podcasting, you can touch every corner of the world, can't you?
So true. Yeah.
You can really get the message out there. So Balm to the Soul is all about energy healing.
Yeah.
But it's more than that. It's about spirituality. I have authors on because obviously having written books, I like to bring authors on as well. So we have authors, we have healers, we have guides, we have channelers, you know, anybody who has that healing and wellness element, and also the majority of them are just passionate about what they do.
Yeah.
So I think I have about 150 episodes now, which is
amazing.
Yeah. But I love it. I love having a good old chat with people who, and you know, and some of the things I thought, oh gosh, really? And then you go and find out about it, and where's that come from? And it's just fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, I'm you're on my podcast now, so I know exactly what you're talking about, and it's really and sometimes it's just fulfilling to just
Yeah.
connect with someone. Like now we're connecting on different topics
Yes.
as
And we
human
probably
beings.
would never, we don't live in the same country, we probably never have met. So
Exactly.
it's just lovely to make those connections.
Yeah. It's just fascinating.
Mm.
You've also written a novel, The Red Magus, and I've read the synopsis and I'm like, I have to read this book. It's about a woman who gets betrayed by her husband. He cheats on her. She does past life regression, discovers something about the Red Magus. Energy work is involved. And, that's I mean, we don't know what's going to happen in the end, but, And so how did you get inspired to write this book? Because a novel is very different from writing like a workbook, which you did earlier. So
Yeah.
how did you get inspired to do that as well?
Well, I'm really interested in storytelling as a way of teaching. You know, again, you're going back to the ancients, aren't you? And I really wanted to create something that everybody, not just somebody who's interested in energy healing, but everybody could pick up and take on board ideas and concepts at whatever level they wanted.
Yeah.
So some people might pick this up and see it as complete fiction, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And other people will pick it up and get every level and every layer and be really pushed to go and perhaps look at past life regression or essential oils or whatever. So that's where it really started. And I use writing for me. You know, I'm a lawyer and in the corporate world, and it's all ego and competition and all the rest of it. And writing was my balance to sort of just have that chance to chill and be more creative.
Yeah.
And I wrote this scene, and I'm sure it was channeled from somewhere. And I sat back and I thought, what on earth do I do with that? What is that about? Where has that come from? It was just an isolated scene. And in fact, it's in the middle of the book. So it's almost like my book then evolved as a spiral, because I was looking at this scene and then thinking, well, how am I going to work that into something? You know, so we sort of worked backwards and out, and then it developed layer on layer, and new ideas came to me, and I just filled it with spiritual ideas and concepts as a sort of teaching for people. But I loved it. I just really enjoyed doing it. And a lot of the experiences and descriptions, like the description of a past life regression session, is taken from my life. A lot of the things that she sees in past lives is taken from experience. And then she meets this character, the Red Magus, and Magus is actually, it's a female character. Magus is actually the male term. I think the female is mage with an E on the end.
Oh, okay.
But in her tribe, she was treated like the men. She was treated with such high respect that it's sort of a nod to that. But Magi were like priestesses, and maybe we'd call them sorcerers, or shamans. They would be the people who birthed the children. They'd help you physically with herbs or whatever, and then they would also help the dying, and they became the soul midwives as well. They were that sort of person. So it's all based around that, and those ideas. But yeah, I enjoyed writing it. A bit of a drama. And I have to say, as I wrote it, I had the scenes in my head. I always think it should be on telly, because that's how I wrote it. I could just see it in my head. And I'm not sure if I don't think that everybody writes like that, but that's
your process.
Yeah, exactly. And my greatest compliment to the book is that people have said to me, I picked it up because I know you, and it's not the book I would normally pick up. I get that all the time, because I appreciate that energy healing, past life regression is a niche area. But they said, a lot of people have said, I picked it up and actually I've really enjoyed it. Yeah. And I think that's the best compliment, isn't it? That's getting that, even if it gives them shifts their energy a little bit, a little ripple. Yeah. It's sort of getting those concepts out there again.
Is there a sequel out there?
Do you know, I'm asked that all the time.
So I'm asking, or at least another book, another novel. Do you have anything in the pipeline?
I'm not planning it at the moment. In my head, it's a trilogy, but I've not even worked out what's going on. I actually, I'm a member of a writers group in Suffolk, and this year I'm thinking of a whole new project. So not yet, but possibly in the future.
We hope so. I'm definitely going to read this book this year. I have to get it.
I'd love your feedback as well. I love feedback, because I just think that's how you learn, isn't it? That's how you realize how to better things. So
I'm sure it's amazing without anything. I'm sure people are enjoying it. But I have a friend in London, so I always bother her to buy me books off Amazon and bring them to here when she comes to Lebanon. So it's hard to get books here from the Amazon.
Right.
Yeah, so hopefully she'll come back maximum by Christmas, and she'll bring it to me.
Oh, lovely. Oh, well, I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think.
I will. I'm going to keep in touch with you anyway, so don't worry.
Yes, definitely.
And the last thing I'm going to ask you is, you have a blog as well. And one of the articles, which I found interesting, is a 5-step guide to happiness. And for some reason, the issue of happiness always comes up in a lot of my podcasts. It's like people are always trying to find happiness, and they seek it out. So tell us about the 5-step guide to happiness. And that's how we'll end our podcast today.
Well, happiness for me, I'm not sure what I wrote in that 5 guide, but happiness, happiness for me is definitely from within. You can't buy it, you can't create it. It's not external. It's internal. And as I have done all of this energy work over time, I've just felt happier, and I have felt more at peace. I have done meditation for 20 years, and I don't actually, I was trying to explain to somebody the other day what I do, what I term as meditation. And I think it's an eclectic mix of things that I've learned over time from various, I've done so many courses and things and tips that people give you, and sort of merged it into my own way of getting into that meditative state. But along the way, all mind chatter went. It was like flicking a switch. So when I now go into meditation, it's quiet.
Yeah.
There's no sound. And you are completely at peace. And I think that doing this work, it has really, I think that's interlinked with happiness as well. And I just feel more and more, life doesn't stop happening. You don't stop having money worries or job issues or worrying about your kids or whatever. That never stops. But internally, energetically, I feel at peace. And I can only put that down to, the years of energy healing and working on myself as well. But it's never ending. I think if people say, oh, I've done my work, then they're kidding themselves. It is never ending. There is always another level. There's always another layer. But it has really created in me a sense of peace, more happiness. And it's something I would highly recommend people start. It's not a quick fix. It's not, you're not gonna flick a switch and do it for a couple of days and feel instantly happier. But it is the route to being really at peace with who you are, really at peace with your soul's journey, what you're here to learn. And do you know what? I keep thinking, I'm not going to repeat these lessons. I've worked so hard this lifetime. I do not want to repeat them. So I'm gonna make sure that I've learned everything that I can learn, and I've cleared everything that I need to clear.
So basically, for you, happiness is peace.
Yes. Yeah. I think they're interlocked. Yeah. It's just being that peace and that quiet space. Yeah.
Beautiful thoughts. Thank you so much for being with me here today, for sharing everything that you've shared, for just being lovely you. And
thank you.
I look forward to keeping in touch with you as well.
Yes, lovely. Thank you so much for having me on. I've really enjoyed meeting you.